Let's start with the chapter number 9 in our MVC series. So, in this chapter, we will see data annotations and validations of using data annotation classes. Okay, so uh, data annotation is used to configure your model classes, which will highlight the most commonly needed configuration. Data annotations are also understood by the number of .NET applications such as ASP.NET MVC, which allows this application to leverage the same annotation for client-side validations. Data annotation attributes override default code first conventions. Okay, so basically, data annotations are used to uh, so it is used to do the validations in MVC. Okay, it is also used to uh, work with the data first approach while we work in the entity framework. Okay, so we have two namespaces here. So first is system.component model.data annotations. So it includes the following attribute that impact the nullability or size of the column. Okay, so basically there is first namespace, that is system.component model.data annotation. So it is having this some attribute classes like required, regular expression, range, and email. And using with with the help of this like classes, we can validate our model, and we can validate our view view data. Okay, the other namespace is like system.component model.annotations.schema. So this namespace is basically used to work with data first approach while we will work in the entity framework. That time we can use that data first approach technique. Okay, so in that case we have some classes given in the data annotation namespace, and these are like tables, columns, indexes. These all are attribute classes, foreign key, not mapped, inverse property. So these are some kind of uh, attribute classes which we have given. Okay, so in this session we will see only this namespace and its classes. Okay, so we are not going to see these things because it is related to like entity framework. If we are going to use entity framework in our project, then only we can we should think about these things. Okay, so we will start with these attributes. We will see how we can use these things in our project. Okay, now before going into these things, what we will do, we will create an application, and in that application we will take some properties. Okay, and according to that property we will design our view, and we will see what happens if we send any invalid data to the server. Okay, so we will do some operations without having validations on the form, right? So let's flip to Visual Studio. So here I am taking MVC project. So let's take it. From here we have to take MVC. Okay, let's add it. Okay, so it has created this MVC project, right? So inside this we have that home controller. We will take our own controller and we will give some name to it. Uh, so I'm taking empty controller. So here we can take DataAnnotation. Okay, so this is the controller name I am taking. Let's add it. Okay, so that controller is added. Let's add some model class here, right? So let's take a model class code. I think we have one model available in this document. Okay, so we have this. Let's copy these things and take it here. Okay, so we have taken one employee model which is having these all properties like ID, first name, last name, email, salary, phone number, then address line 2, pin code, right? Okay. Now, what we will have to do is like we will take one action here, right? Without validation, right? So let's add a view. Okay, when we will add a view, we will take create template here, and we have seen these things in strongly typed view and scaffolding, right? And from here we have to select our model. So my model is employee model. So it will create a create view, right? If we are selecting here layout page, it will select default layout. Okay, so I am keeping this layout here for now. Okay, let's add it. Now you can see that it has created some code according to our model class, right? So it has created these all the things which we have given in the model, right? First name, then last name, right? It has taken validation controls also here, but we have not applied data annotation attributes on that model. Okay, so we have to see the difference. Okay, so let's run this view. So in app start, we will have to add your controller name and action name. So action name is this and controller name is this, right? Okay, let's run the project. Okay, this is the view which is created by using that our model class, right? So it has created these all fields, and we got this button also here created. Just we have to like write a post method to post the data against that button, right? So let's do that. So in the design, you can see that that button is having input type submit, right? And it will submit the data to that HTTP post method, right? So let's add that HTTP post method. So as we know, this is by default get method, and we have if we have to define the post method, then we will have to override the same method with having some different parameter. And here we have to decorate it with HTTP post, right? Let's add this class name as a parameter. Okay, let's have a debugger here, and Okay, now as we know and we have previously seen, when we will hit on the create button, it will post the data and it will bind it to the that model, right? But if you see, we have like employee ID as an integer and then salary as a float, right? Then we have this different things also like pin code, address, these things, right? Now we have to see if we will enter some invalid data, will it work or not? Okay, so let's run the application. Now first property is employee ID, which is integer. So let's add some string here. Okay, so we are not able to write the string there. Okay, not an issue. Then first name, then email. I am adding salary. Okay, but in salary we can add like string. Okay, now here it is showing like the salary field must be number. Okay, then phone number, address 1 and address 2 and pin code. Okay, when I will hit on the create button, let me add some string here. Okay, character. Okay, it is float, so we have to add integer value here, right? Let's hit on the create button. Okay, so if you can see that that model is binded here, right? Okay, so we got that email and these things, right? So it has created some field and and it has validated automatically some fields, right? So it has validated like numbers, then these things. But for example, I want this first name as a mandatory, right? So will it validate or not? Let's see. Okay, so I deleted means there is no value in the first name text box. Still, we are able to like post the data to the server, right? So to like achieve these things, we can use data annotations in this case, right? Okay, so here you can see that we got that first name, last name, null, right? So we have like data annotation attributes. These are like I'll show you these things. Okay, so these are required expression, range, email address. So we will use these things and we will see how these things work. Okay. So now we have seen we wanted some validations on this form. Like I wanted this as a mandatory field. If it is not there, it must like what we can say. It must not post the form to the server. Okay. Then I want that email ID in the valid format. Let's see it is like valid. It is validated or not. Let's type something else. So this is also not validated, right? Email ID is also not validated here. I am entering something and it is accepting, right? So we have to validate these things using data annotations. Okay. So let's try these things. So here we have this attribute classes. So we will use these things. Okay. So let's use this code again. So here we have already that model used. What we will do, we will create one more model which will have this data annotation code facility, right? So let's add a class, public class, employee annotation model, right? Let's add these things here. I will explain these things to you. Let me first delete these things. Okay. Now it is showing error here because of what? Because we need to add that namespace here and it is not added, right? So let's add this. I am reflecting this from it that attribute only. So we have to add this model, that is system.component model.data annotation, right? Once you will add this, it will get added here. So it is added here, right? It is just added here. And now these things are available in our project, right? Now again, this it is not there. So let's see what is the namespace required. So component model required for display name. So we will see these all things, its meaning and how we can use these things. So here you can see that they have used like scaffold column, and in the bracket we have sent value as a false. So it is mean that we don't want this column be scaffold on the form, right? So we have seen in our previous example, it has created a text box for employee ID also. So generally we don't like take text boxes for IDs and these things on the UI, right? So that's why it here the scaffolding made false. Now for first name they have added like required. So required is the attribute which is having this named parameter error message, right? So here if you will not enter anything into that field on the form, so it will throws that error, right? The that first name is required, right? Again here we have added some min length and max length attribute. It is having some parameter. So first parameter is like minimum length value, so that is 5, and error message is the first name must be at least 5 character, right? And then again max length 15. So it is mean that it will take maximum 15 character only. So this is how three what we can say data annotation attribute classes applied here. Here they have used display name, so it is coming from system dot uh, component model, okay? And it is not a part of like data annotation, but it is part of like scaffolding. Means for example, in our property name the value is last name which is having no spaces, right? Now you want some space in your name, so you can pass like name as you want to that display name attribute class, okay? Here also the same thing they used. So as we have seen the like label names are created as per the property name, but if you want different name to the labels or on the UI, you can use display name this class, okay? So here required field again used for email, and email address is the like data annotation which is used, and error message like email is incorrect. So yeah, email address is the attribute class which will validate the email by default, okay? Then for salary they have used range and display format. So here this is like some uh, regular expression string which we have to pass here. Data format string is there, so you can get it easily from this these things on the internet, okay? From internet. So they have passed this format to display format attribute class. Then we have like regular expression. So this is used for phone number, so it will validate the phone number. You can get this regular expression from internet if you go to Google. Let's go to Google, I will show you these things. If you will find here regular for mobile number, Indian mobile number series. So you will get this regular expressions on the internet available. So you can get it for like any kind of format, okay? So you can use these things directly into the regular expression data annotation class, okay? Those who have like learned ASP.NET, they must know what is like regular expressions and these things. Okay. Now then we have like data type. So here you can define the data type. So here data type dot postal code it has taken. So it will automatically format address into the that postal code type. Okay. Okay. So now this model is decorated with the what we can say with the that data annotation attribute classes, right? And for each property we have given some annotation, right? So let's what we will do now, we will create one more view which will have this data annotation as a uh, model class, right? So we will call it with annotation validation. Okay. And let's define its post method also. HTTP post, we will see if the data getting posted or not. And let's use this model as a parameter, right? Let's have debugger here. Make sure rebuild the application before like scaffolding the views. Okay, so let's add view for these things. Add view. Here we have to select create. Okay, and from model class we have to select our model class. So this is my model, right? Employee annotation model. So let's add it. Once you will add it, you will find the same thing which has happened when we created the previous view. Okay, only the things are like here you can see that for label it has added some other text. So we will see means when we will run it we will see this these things. Okay, so let's run it. Let me like reload the previous view also without any, right? Okay, here you can see that the first name is as the same as we defined in the property, right? But here you can see that the first name is having some space. So it is happened because of we have used display that attribute class here, right? So and here you can see that employee ID is scaffold here, and we got this like created with the text box, right? But here employee ID text box is not created because we have used that scaffold column equal to false, right? Okay, so this is how these things are working, right? Now we have done some validations which was not like previously in the our without validation view, right? So here first name is not mandatory, and here we have made that first name as a mandatory. Okay, so we will see if it works or not. So let's click on the create button. When I will click on the create button, you can see that it is showing like the first name is required, the email is required. Okay, the salary is required. So we are getting this validations here, right? Which we have done using data annotation classes, right? So let's add this first user using a miss, right? The here we are getting again one more message that is first name cannot be more than 15 character. Okay, so let's make it less than 15 character. Okay, so now it is better. If you will go to less than 15 character, still it will throw an error, right? At least 15 character should be there, right? Then let's add some last name. Email ID, if you will enter some invalid email ID, it will throw an error, right? Email is incorrect. If it is valid, it verifies only email ID format and not actual email, right? Then salary, it is a first thing it is required, right? And the second thing is what? It must be number, right? So let's add number. So again, the other thing is here, like salary must be between 10,000 to 20,000. So let's do that. Phone number. Okay. If you will add some invalid, it will throw an error, right? Then address in postal code, it is not throwing an error. We will see it. How does these things work? Okay, let's post that form. So here, like we got this data here in the proper format, right? As we have used data annotation classes for these things, right? Okay, so this is how like we can validate the data using data annotation classes in MVC. Okay, and here it has created this all form using our scaffolding technique using strongly typed view. Okay, so yeah, and these things are handled using this HTML helper, that is validation message for, which is showing the message on the UI. Okay, let it run first. So this way we can do these things, right? Okay. Now there is one more thing I would like to tell you here. We have a is valid property. I will show you these things too. I think that property is model state dot is valid. Okay. So it is used to check if the our model is valid or not. So the property is model state dot is valid. Okay. So basically it returns false if there is some invalid data in the model. Okay. So which is not validated. If it is not validated, then it will become a false. Else it will become a true. Okay. So let's run this and see again. This is our previous form. Let's reload new one. Okay, we got it right. Let's hit on create button. If you go here, you will see that it is showing is valid equal to true, right? If it is not valid, then it will become a false. Okay. So whatever code we have to return, we have to write this inside that if block, because that will be like validated and final uh, data which is provided from view. Okay. So this is how we can do the validations in our MVC using data annotation. Okay. It doesn't like submit the form until it is validated, right? So we have to validate these things, right? Okay. Now it is posting the data. Okay, so this is all was in the that data annotation chapter. So we have seen these things practically how we can use these things. Okay, so make sure you guys will like Google these things and you will use all the data annotations classes which are available in our MVC data annotation namespace. Okay, we have given some example in this document also, but you can go through this video, you can try these things. You can try different combinations for regular expression or that number format data annotation class. Okay, you will get this data available on the Google. Okay, so we are done with this chapter.